So in this one we've got something a bit different, which is going to be the kind of question you might see towards the end of the exam just to get you thinking and to look for those extra marks. And we're basically told that Mark finds a sequence which repeats every 4 terms, and we're given the first 5 terms here, so we're given -2, 0, 2, 0, and then -2. So you can see that the first term is -2 and the fifth term is -2 as well. And we're asked, what is the 50th term in Mark's sequence? And so at first glance you might think like the only way to do this is just to go up through the terms manually, so continue from 5, 6, 7 all the way up to 50. And you could do it that way, but it's obviously going to be very time consuming, and it's also going to be the kind of way that you might be more likely to make a mistake somewhere. And so what I would always advise you to do with these repeating patterns is actually break them up into individual patterns. So you can see that we know that the first and fifth term are the same, so we can actually set up a list here. And the first 2 elements in our list for the term -2 are going to be T1 and T5. And so we know that because it repeats every 4 terms, the first term is going to be -2 and also the fifth term is going to be -2 as well. And so the same logic holds for all the other terms. So you can see that because it repeats every 4 terms, we're going to see, like a kind of second and third and so on occurrence of 0, which is our second term here from our little list. And then we can say the same thing is going to happen for 2. And I'm actually going to set up a second list for 0 as well, because I think it's actually easier just to do this quite methodically as opposed to trying to fit everything into one list for 0. We're going to see there's going to be a clear pattern here emerging in a second. And so what I'm going to begin by doing is just adding which terms have 0, 2, and 0. So we know that the second term is 0, so we can put that in here. The third term is going to be 2, so we can put that in here. And then the fourth term is going to be kind of our second string of zeros, which we can put down at the bottom. So we know that because our terms went back at the beginning at term 5, term 6 is going to be 0, because again it's just going to repeat itself, and then term 7 is going to be 2, and then term 8 is going to be 0 again. And so you can basically just continue this process until you get to the 50th term, but there's actually a bit of a shortcut you can use to figure out kind of which one of these 4 lists Mark's 50th term is actually on. So if we look at what's going on in each of our lists, what we can actually see is that the terms that have these certain numbers also have certain things in common. So you can see that in our first list, all of our terms are odd numbers. So for -2, we have T1, T5, and T9. And because we're adding 4 each time, so because every 4 term is the same, it's always going to be an odd number, because if you add 4 to any odd number, it's still going to be odd. So we can actually write off this list. We know that 50 is not going to be on this list. And we can say the same thing for our third list, so 3, 7, 11. That's never going to end up at 50 by adding multiples of 4. And so now we've narrowed it down to 2 different lists involving the term 0. And because both the second and fourth list have the term 0, so it actually doesn't matter which one of these lists 50 is on, we know that the 50th term is going to be 0. Again, just because we know that T50 is going to be an even term, so because it's 50 and T50 is an even number, so it has to be on one of these 2 lists, because every even term in our little sequence, which you can see up here in our question, every term with an even number is going to have a 0. And that's kind of basically how we work with this question. Again, you can also just kind of do it manually and just count up to the 50th term if you wanted to, and you'll see that it is indeed 0, but I think this way is quite a nice way, and the examiner is definitely going to be, hopefully going to be impressed if they see that you can work this out in a nice, quick way like this. But that's going to be it for this question.